Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Euronurse. I'm your host, Vic Sinise. Hey, you got a little peek at all of our experts in the background, but don't worry about that. So, welcome to the show. Hey, here's a public service message for you. If you've got a turkey frozen, make sure you remember to get it out of the freezer. So it takes about 3-4 days for it to defrost. So, whoa. If this is your first time checking us out, be sure to check out where we come to you from all these different places. And hey, you YouTube subscribers, you guys have done a great job. We're over the 2,000 mark. I think we had about 15 more that went over the last week. So keep it up. Again, first time, check us out at our website at euronurse.com, the best place to go to find out more about the show. Also, the best place to catch all of our past episodes. And we have a bunch of them, 120 to be sure. And if you don't want to watch the show, maybe you want to listen to the show in your car, no problemo. Go to our Euronurse Plus area where you can go ahead and listen to us in your car on any of your favorite podcasting apps. So we got a great show for you today. This week, we're joined by the Gemini company who are going to talk about urodynamic equipment and how they can improve care and just take us a little demo through how easy it is to use some of their equipment. So we're really looking forward to that. Now, let's go ahead and bring our experts into the show. Experts, welcome to the show. And there we go. Hey, how's everybody doing?
Morning.
So I'm getting used to this new software thing for trying to get the brands in here. So let me see here. There we go. I got everybody's names up. Okay. So they changed something in the software. And it takes me a little bit to figure some of these buttons out now. Anyway, my name is Vic Sinise. In case this is your first time checking us out, I am the host of the show. Been involved in urology for the past 40 years and love getting together with everybody for a show every week. We come to you every week at 9 a.m. Central Time. And let's go ahead and bring in my other big expert that's with us all the time. Lori, give us a quick introduction of yourself.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lori Atkinson. I'm a certified urology registered nurse. I have been in urology since 1998, and I'm currently working for Northwestern Medicine in Geneva and Winfield, Illinois.
All right. Thanks, Lori. And now from Gemini, we have a couple of experts with us. Andrea, give us a little explanation of who you are and what you do for the company.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrea. I work with Gemini Medical Technologies. I'm a clinical and technical specialist. I've been with the company for a little over a year now. And previously, I've always specialized in urology and urogynecology with backgrounds in urodynamics specifically as well.
All right, great. And then Brian, go ahead and give us your introduction.
Good morning. I'm Brian Hirsch. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer. I'm one of the co-founders of Gemini. Myself and our other co-founders have been in this urodynamic space, both in the consumables and the equipment for over 20 years now, and really happy to be back on the show again. It's been about a year, so thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're glad to hear some more about your product. So let's go ahead and bring up our slides and let Brian take it away. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, good morning. Thank you. First, I want to thank Euronurse and Vic and the panel and also the live audience and the followers who will see this show in the future. So thank you for the dedication to the Euronurse program. I think it's wonderful. So Gemini had nothing short of an amazing success story. We came onto the market a few years ago as we realized that the urodynamic space had kind of consolidated and there needed to be another player in the space to bring really quality products to the market. And so what we did was we started with urodynamics consumables and then added an equipment. And now since last year when we've been here, we've really expanded our product portfolio. The market share that we've picked up in the past couple of years is nothing short of astronomical, from local practices, the largest regional groups, and even large private equity owned nationwide groups. And so there's a reason why we're seeing so much growth in our company and in our customer base. And that's because we really do partner with the practices that we do business with. We bring them premium products, responsible pricing, value-based pricing, and really just great support, whether it be customer support, technical support, and clinical support. So when you think of Gemini, you think of a true partnership. And that leads me today to, as we've been growing, we've been talking with practices. And when we were here a year ago, we kind of went more clinical and talked about the clinical side of things, and reimbursement, because we wanted to make it kind of interesting for the audience. Today, we wanted to bring in two topics that we've been hearing as we're meeting with groups across the country and some of the conversations we've been having. So we're hoping that this will be a little bit of an interactive between myself, Vic, Lori, and the live audience, okay? So the first thing is, historically, it was first-line diagnostic would be a Uroflow, and then those patients would go on to urodynamics. One of the things that we're seeing in this country is a pretty big growth of Urocuff, and there's definitely a place for Urocuff. However, in talking with practices, we're hearing that the growth is because maybe there's not enough urodynamics trained people. It's easier to convince the male population not to get catheterized. It's quick. And so what we wanted to do is have a little open discussion with the panel and with the live audience and talk about your thoughts on if it's good to go from Urocuff straight to surgery, or if Urocuff then urodynamic surgery, or if there's a subset that should only have urodynamics, because we think that there's a place for both, but we do think there is definitely a subset that whether they use a Urocuff or not, urodynamics is definitely the gold standard and will really get the full picture as opposed to just part of the picture. So I'll stop there, but I wanted to bring up this slide and see if there's some commentary back.
Yeah, I think it's a good point to kind of discuss that. So I do urodynamics. I've done urodynamics most of my career, and I kind of take the approach that there's some basic screening tests that can be done, and even a Uroflow. And Lori could probably comment to this too. You can get information from a Uroflow and get an idea if somebody's obstructed. If it's slow stream, we can tell that there's probably something causing the stream to be slow, but you don't know some of the hidden information that you find out in urodynamics. Now, maybe it's a slow stream because the bladder wasn't full enough and it's not squeezing very hard, or it's a very weak bladder muscle and it can't squeeze very hard. And you can't get that from a Uroflow. So the Urocuff has some advantages in that it can give us a pressure measurement. Also, it's really good for obstruction and kind of figure out what's going on, but I don't know if it's going to really give us enough diagnosis to look at things like, is it a weak detrusor or weak bladder muscle? What do you think, Lori? I think you got your mic muted.
Sorry, no, I totally agree with you, Vic. You just don't get enough information on that. And if you're talking surgery, you want to make sure you've got the accurate information so that after the procedure, they're not still having problems that you missed by not doing a urodynamic.
And audience, if you have any comments on that, go ahead and put those through. Lori will be watching the comments and she'll bring those up. I think you made a good point, Brian, in that one of the driving forces behind Urocuff is training. Urodynamics is not something that you can just train somebody to do in a week. It involves somebody has to be knowledgeable of the neuroanatomy of how the bladder works. And I've taught urodynamics for years too. And, you kind of start at the brain and understand how this whole system functions, because if you don't understand the function, then you're never going to understand what you're doing. And a bad urodynamic test is a waste of time and putting patients through something that's, fairly uncomfortable. It's not invasive, but not, highly invasive. But I think that's where Urocuff is definitely kind of found a little niche there.
Okay.
All right, let's bring up your slides.
Thank you. Yeah, so this slide just talked about uroflowmetry on the right, what Urocuff does all the time or sometimes with the dashes, and then what urodynamics does provide. So urodynamics does provide, obviously, a much more complete and total clinical look at what's going on and what might be some of the underlying causes for any of the urinary incontinence issues. And so just taking that one step further, it really is the gold standard. It gives in-depth data, and it will really help understand with complex cases. And what we're hoping for here is that the patient only has to go down a treatment pathway one time and not course correct or possibly even have multiple surgeries. And that's kind of what we're looking at. And that's the conversations we've been having across the country, is that there's definitely a subset that should probably go on to urodynamics after Urocuff, or maybe go straight to urodynamics. And then at the same time, Gemini, with our great pricing on our consumables for urodynamic study, the two catheters, the electrodes, and the pump tubing, is not that much more than Urocuff, but the reimbursement's about 3 or 4 times. So in general, across the country, the margins on a urodynamic study are about $400 more per case than a Urocuff. Okay, I like this topic a lot. This is near and dear to me. I'm going to make it personal. So I was talking with my wife and I asked her, have you ever, when you go to your OBGYN for your annual routine visit, do they ever ask you if you have any urinary issues, any leaks or anything? And she said no. So then I asked her friends that question. And then this non-scientific study that I started doing expanded out to customers and people I was talking to. So one of the things that we've identified is that OBGYNs, for the most part, are not asking their patients about if they have any sort of urinary incontinence symptoms. And so therefore, these women, 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40s, 50s, young women that have a whole life ahead of them, just think that they have to live with some of this urinary incontinence. And so what we've started doing is we've been talking to urology and urogynecology practices about doing an outreach. And we'll help our customers with this outreach to ask the OBGYNs or the primary care just to put a simple questionnaire on the intake form, so that if the questions are answered, and show that there is an issue, it automatically goes on to be a referral to a urologist or your gynecologist for further evaluation. So I'll pause there to go back to the panel and the audience to see what they think about trying to help identify more females that are living life in a way that they don't have to. And that's there.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. There's always, the kind of the balance between trying to see more patients and spend enough time to get the information that you need. And I think that sometimes they're not asking the questions that they should be doing. Now, I can't comment for a gynae practice because I'm not involved in that. And of course, urology, we always screen for issues like incontinence. But I think that we're the second referral. They're not their first referrals to their primary or probably their OB-GYN. I don't know. What do you think about that, Lori?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I've never had an OB-GYN ever ask me any kind of urinary symptoms whatsoever. And, in our practice, obviously, even if somebody comes in for, let's say a female comes in for kidney stones, we still ask them about their urination, and it may stem from them there. So, and people don't, I'm sure you can agree, Vic, when people come in and you ask them, oh, are you having any urinary issues? They almost 100% have some kind of urinary issue.
Yeah.
And then you've got the guys who don't want to admit they have urinary issues or who are in full blown retention because I'm peeing great. I pee every 5 minutes, things like that are not normal. So it's those little things that you have to pick up along the way.
They don't have a good sleep. Let me tell you that then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and it's always what we think is normal and what they think is normal are two different things, Yeah. You had any problems urinating? No, I go all 3, 4, 5 times a night.
Right.
That's not normal.
Right. So this outreach that we're talking about, Lori, is exactly what you're talking about. It's to get the patients into the urology or urogynecology practice. This is at the OBGYN level that we're trying to do the outreach from the urology groups or the urogynecology groups, marketing to the OBGYNs to tell them to please just put this questionnaire on your intake form, so that when your patients come in for their annual physical, you're identifying patients that probably do not have the best quality of life they could possibly have. And that's something that we as a company, and I think somewhat as an industry, as I just left AUGS recently in Washington, and we talked about that with some of the other companies, that as an industry, we have to start making more awareness for women's health.
Yeah. Well, hopefully going forward, I think there's more of an awareness of trying to make our population healthy rather than treating our problems. So some of the screening stuff, if done earlier, is going to make it a lot easier than trying to treat people when it's too late.
And it's just a matter of, if we can get primary care or urogynes just to give out a form, that's all it takes. It's that
Right.
ICIQ, AUA, IPSS, whatever,
Right.
just to give out a form.
4 questions.
Just kind of a chain.
Depending on which one. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
Thank you for your feedback. Yeah, that's very important to us. All right. So, just to summarize quickly, we've identified that urodynamics really is the gold standard. It can help lead to improved care, better quality of life. And it's also, something that in medicine you don't always want to talk about, but it really is the purple elephant in the room. Urodynamics makes money for practices. It's not a cost center. It's actually a profit center. So on the way to figuring out the best treatment plan for your patients, you're actually also going to make money doing urodynamics. And when you use Gemini products and Gemini consumables, the total cost is definitely lower. So there's actually more profit for each study that's done. Okay, so we've talked about some areas where maybe there could be more urodynamics. We didn't want to go too deep into the urodynamics. And we know there's a lot of facilities out there that have usable equipment and they're not end of life. So before we talk about equipment, I just wanted to remind everybody that Gemini came onto the market with consumables for urodynamics. And we created the Atmos air charge catheter. And it really is the first redesigned catheter for urodynamics in 20 years. And we had three things in mind. We wanted to improve the patient comfort and potentially show better leaks. We wanted it to be seamless with all existing legacy equipment out there that was already using air charge catheters. And we wanted to come out at a price point that was fair to the customer. And we've accomplished just that. So our catheters are a true 6 French. They're almost about 20% smaller in outer diameter than the competitors' catheters. And they're also made out of a different material that softens when it's in the body. So theoretically, that will improve patient comfort. And at the same time, with a smaller OD or French size, theoretically, the catheter itself won't cause some obstruction as you're looking for leaks during urodynamics. Second, that seamless transition. There's no recalibration needed. Many of our customers will still have some inventory of their prior catheters on the shelf, and so they can switch from one SKU at a time to our products. And on the same patients, they're literally using one of our catheters and one of our competitors' catheters till they finish burning through the competition's catheters. And then we have pump tubing and the electrodes that work on that machine. So as long as there's no RFID scanner that's forcing you to scan 2 catheters and pump tubing, which I know is very unpopular right now in the industry, if you have an open system, which we do, by the way, you should be able to use our consumables on your equipment. And then the bottom line, we came to market about 35% less expensive than the competition. We haven't taken a price increase since we came to market. Well, they have. And we're not taking a price increase in 2025 once again. So you are seeing, when you use typically our consumables, substantial savings. That's the easiest way to start partnering with Gemini, is just to transition your consumables on your existing equipment. And when your equipment does become end of life, we have, the slide got a little messed up when we uploaded it to the system, so I apologize for that. But we do have an entire line from portable all the way to video systems. And we have some really unique features on our upper level systems, like a leak point camera that no one else has. So literally, it looks like an endoscopy camera that's placed between the patient's legs and looks for the leak, and they see it on the screen instead of with their face down there. We have an optional integrated bladder scanner for the post-void residual. So some kind of neat innovation going on there. All of our equipment, from the portable systems to top of the line systems, come with 2 ways to do the studies. One with a little transmitter that has the cables and the transducers that can be hung on the patient's neck or strapped to their thigh. We call that the Harmony. And then cables that plug directly into the main system. The reason that's important for your practices and for you is, A, it gives you choice, but B, if for some reason a cable goes bad or someone forgets to charge the Harmony, you always have redundancy. So we're always trying to make sure, and we'll talk about in a minute, our tech support and warranty, we're always trying to make sure that your practice is running smoothly and you don't have to cancel and reschedule patients. We know it's hard enough to schedule and get those patients in for a urodynamic study. It's probably much harder to get them to come back a second time because your equipment's not working.
Hey, Brian, I did have an interesting question come in over our email, so I thought this might be a good time to bring this one up to you since we're talking about your equipment. And it was Grace sent this in. Does your video system have the capability to use water transducers? And when I looked at your system on the website, I didn't see that option. So I think you can discuss, is it strictly air-based, or for those of you that have not done urodynamics, there's the old-fashioned system was something called a water-based system. Much more difficult to use. I've done them both.
Right. Yeah. So here in the United States, we only set up our systems with the air charged transducer cables for air charged catheter type of studies, as opposed to the water systems. I know overseas, where water, especially in England and other parts of the world, is still considered popular or cost effective. Overseas, they do use our systems with water, but in the United States, we're strictly air-based systems.
Good. Thanks. I thought it'd just be a good point to bring that in.
It's a great question, and I always believe in full transparency. So before we get into, because we're trying to make this interactive today, and I really appreciate it, and it's been a lot of fun so far, I did want to just give a little bit. We talked about the hardware. Now let's talk about our software. when we've been working on our software over the many years to come out with this whole new fresh line of equipment. And by the way, all of our products are made in either Western Europe or right here in the United States. All of our products, and at the end of the show, we'll tell you about the rest of our portfolio, come with the longest warranties in the industry. For example, this video system comes with a 4-year bumper-to-bumper warranty. Our other cart-based systems come with a full 3-year warranty. And all of our products are in our warehouses ready to ship, because we know when your systems go down and you need a replacement system, you need to get back up and running very quickly. But really, what we are very excited about is the software in our systems. So we wanted to make a complete paperless urodynamics workflow. We know historically, someone does the study. This is in most cases, not every case. Someone does the study. They then have to print it off, maybe put some handwritten notes on it, put it in a pile for the practitioner to look at. The practitioner goes through them and they take their own notes on it and do their own calculations, put a treatment plan possibly. Then someone else goes ahead and scans it up to the EMR and possibly even has to put some key data points into the EMR. So what we've done is we've built our reporting function, which you'll see in a minute. We're going to do a live demonstration with Andrea. We've made it where it's ICS guided interpretation. So it takes someone through the study, and with fill in the blank questions, it will literally build full paragraphs and allow you to put your treatment plan in and any other comments. And then we are compatible with pretty much every EMR system out there, and we've been validated on the big 6, but we've worked to date, about 20-25% of our systems have been sold with EMR integration. So you do the interpretation right in the software. It takes like 2 minutes to do. It's very quick, and then you push it straight up to the EMR. So we're very excited about that, and that's really something that we think helps sets us apart from the rest of the competition. I'm going to hand it over to Andrea now to show you what a paragraph looks like that's created using this, and then also show you our software.
All right. So Andrea, get your screen where you want it. We'll bring you in here.
I'm ready.
All right, good.
All right, perfect. So just kind of like what Brian was stating here, I just want to take a moment to highlight some of our key points in our reports before I go into the live software demo. As he was stating, this right here where it says professional interpretation inputs, this is where in the software you are just pressing a couple of different buttons, and this is where it will complete the paragraph for you. Along with that, in our reports, I just want to take a moment as well to highlight here with the EMG activity, this is also auto-interpreted. Our software is the only software currently out there that has auto-interpretation for the EMG. With that being said, I will now go into a quick software demo to show you how the software itself works. So once I open this, I want you to pay attention over here. The square here where it's showing activate all across. This is a key little feature here that will allow you to see that all of your devices are functioning before you actually go into the software and get started with your patients. That's important because obviously if you get started and like your flow is not working or your cable's not working, it will not allow you to begin. And then you realize it like mid-study. So up here, I'm just gonna press preparation. This here is where you would begin to get your patient prepped with the catheters and everything, the EMG pads, all of those. I'm gonna just go through it basically like I would any urodynamics briefly here. We will zero everything out. I will charge the catheters now. Sorry, I already had them charged. So I'm gonna go ahead and zero everything out again here, and now we will go ahead and charge the catheters. P abdominal equals P vesical there. Everything looks good. We will hit start, filling start. And then from here, our software is pretty intuitive. Everything is laid out. Usually I like to tell everybody, if you just take a look from left to right, it's pretty compatible with all of the software that you currently may be using. So it's pretty simple to use. Basically, if we begin here with the pump speed, this here you can go ahead and change in intervals of, let's say 5, if you want to set it to that, or even 10. But for the purpose of this demo, I will put it to speed 60. From there, I'm just going to simulate a couple of sensations. The patient's currently reached their first sensation. Let's say they began to laugh in the middle of the study. So you see that there. I'll mark it, and you would just drag it on over where you'd want it to go. And just a little quick point there, as you saw, if you needed to drag anything, you could kind of, it looks like the study stops. Like if I needed to move this, it looks like the study stopped, but it actually is still going live in the background. To catch up, you would just come up here to the upper left-hand corner where it says to edge. You would click that and it brings you right back to the live mode. We will then say our patient reached the first desire. Let's say in this moment, the patient accidentally knocks over the Euroflow and they kick on that, or it spills or something. We have a button here that's called an artifact, where we would just mark that from the beginning to the end, and it would take out anything in between those two lines, the start and the end, from your report, so it's not having any calculations in that. That's a neat little feature. Coming up here shortly, right there, it's going to tell you to give you a reminder to tell the patient to cough to do the stress test. We can set that at any interval that you like, whether that's 100, 150, 200, and so forth, or we can completely turn it off as well. I will currently pause the pump so that I can do a quick cough stress test here. I want you to pay attention as I do the cough stress test. You're going to see the markers jump on their own. So you're not having to chase the peaks and mark them. So if the patient, you tell them to give you a big cough, you mark cough leak, it's going to go ahead and mark it for you there. Again, a cough leak. You'll see it jump there. And then same with the Valsalva. Give us a Valsalva there, Valsalva leak. You'll see it mark. And then again, another Valsalva. You'll see it mark it on its own again there. So we will then continue the pump here. And we will go through here, and let's just say the patient now has reached their strong desire. From there, we will go ahead and we've marked the artifact as pointed out there. I wanted to come over here quickly and also show you that down here, it will show you the volume infused as well as the volume infused over here in the left-hand side. So it does show you both sides there. And then right here for the pump speed, anything that you mark, it will show the speed down here as well as in the report. Let's just say now that the patient has reached their capacity, we will go ahead and mark capacity. The pump will automatically stop for you. We will give the patient permission to void at this time. And during this time, some patients have a difficulty voiding on their own without like noises, or they need water sounds, or you have to turn on the faucet. We have a key little feature here as well, where you can mark or click on water sound. I'll turn it off so you can continue to hear me, but that little water sound there plays in the background. So the patient's going to get ready to void now. Okay, and the patient has now completed their void. We will go ahead and click on stop up here in the upper left-hand corner. This will automatically give you the patient's PVR. You can go ahead and catheterize them if that's part of the protocol towards the end of what you're going to do, and then fill it in yourself or let it do the calculations on its own. You would then click OK. From here, we have our study completed. I'm now going to pull up the report and show you how we were able to get those professional interpretations. I'll just go through a brief little view of that quickly here, but before I do, I just want to show you here as well. This is where you can place some commentary or care plan information as well. We would then go to fill report. I'm going to move this over so you can see everything I'm doing at the same time. I will click show here. Anywhere that you see these highlights, this is what we're actually filling in to be able to build those paragraphs that I showed you at the beginning. And so if it's asking the sensation and wants to know, was it normal, premature, delayed, or absent, we'll just click through these just so I can briefly show you. Capacity, we'll say it was normal. The urethra, again, stable, and so forth. And so again, it's just showing you all of the ways to build those paragraphs that I showed you at the beginning. we're just going to go ahead and click Apply All. I also want to point out that anything that you see over here that has a check mark next to it, if you wanted to remove it from the report itself, you just uncheck it and it will take that out of the report as well. I will now pull up the actual report that we just completed, or the study in the report format. And this is actually what it would look like here. So again, just briefly right here, here's our professional interpretations just with the click of those buttons I just did, and it created the paragraph for you. That is the software demo there. And if anyone has any questions, I will be happy to answer those at this time.
All right, let's bring everybody up here. Wow, I've got a few questions. So the markers were actually moving themselves over for, like we saw where the leak was, but it brought it to the highest peak, right?
Yes, absolutely. So it's just, again, with the touch of a button, you're just going to mark, you're going to click on cough leak or cough, and it will do the auto mark for you. So you're not having to chase it, chase the screen down, trying to get those marked. That's a key little feature that a lot of accounts prefer. It is available to be removed as well. But yes, we think that that's a pretty neat little feature that we have.
And the same thing then during the voiding study, was it finding the peak flow and peak pressure?
Yes, it will find the max flow. Yes, absolutely. It will definitely find the max flow for you as well through that. One thing I want to highlight as well that I did not get a chance to say is that everything in our studies stays live. So if, like Brian was stating earlier, typically there's always like a nurse that does it, or a tech or MA that may be doing the actual reporting or the study itself. And then the physician comes in later and does the interpretation. But if there's, anything on here that they needed to take a look at and move markers around, all of this stays live. As you can see, I'm moving the markers currently still.
Oh, we can't.
You're trying to show it now.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm showing you.
I'll bring it in.
I apologize. Can you see it? Okay, yeah. So I'm moving the markers here. So all of this information is still live. If for some reason anything needed to be adjusted, you can completely still go through and move it. The doctor could also replay the study so that they can actually see how it took place throughout the entire thing. So again, those are just neat little features that I always like to highlight for everyone when we're doing the software demos.
And on that artifact, you said that when you mark an artifact, it doesn't report that incident out, correct?
That's correct. So anything that you mark the artifact with, so this button up here in the upper middle section here that I'm highlighting, whenever you click artifact, you'd click from the artifact start to end. Anything in between that pertaining to the Q euro or V euro, it will remove that. Now, let's just say the patient did an artifact event of just the pressure drifted or the catheter was expelled, something of that nature. Those you'd actually just mark with this artifact button. It will not remove those artifacts. So this artifact feature is specifically meant for, if the patient were to accidentally kick over the uroflow or something of that nature.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's really good. Because the other question I had is, how does it measure uroflow? Is it a weighted system where it's taking weights or a spinning disc that is slowing down, or?
Yeah, so it's actually it is a weighted system. It's we call it a Dan flow. And so it's doing the measurements based on the weight. It's exactly, it's a weighted system. Yeah.
Because that's a big artifact, especially if you're doing, I do particularly a lot of males, and they get their foot underneath there and they kick that weighted thing, and that's going to register what it thinks is a flow, and it's not. So that's really neat to be able to take it out with the artifact.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a neat little feature for sure.
And while you're on that topic, Vic, so all of our devices that are wireless Airflow, they don't use Bluetooth, they use radio frequency, so they don't drop the signals. We were at AUA for 4 days straight with 4 systems going, and they never drop it. And that's why also at the beginning of the study, it makes sure that it wakes all the different peripherals up and makes sure that all the cables are sensing. So I think that's really important to note as well. The live data that Andrea showed you, that after the fact, the data is still live. So the practitioner can go over to the system to do that interpretation, or they can be emailed in the form of a CSV file, and we give extra software for the practitioners to have on their own computer. So third method is, instead of it storing all the information on the system's hard drive, and the database within can be stored at on the practice's servers with the IT department's help, and then both the system that's doing the study and the practitioner with their own software on their computer, they both have access to the same database. So what we're trying to do is make this paperless workflow as efficient as possible. So at the end of the day, the practitioner logs into their own computer, uses their own software, and has access to the patient study, and then does the interpretations quickly and then sends it to the EMR. And I think that's pretty, and we don't charge extra for the practitioners to have extra copies of the software on their computer.
Lori, do you guys do Urodynamics at your company?
Oh, absolutely, we do. Yeah, I wanted to circle back to those. So you don't have any barcodes.
No,
that you
no
have
RFID, no barcode.
That is our biggest problem.
Yes, we're hearing that across the country, and that's one of the biggest things that we need to get in front of, is that potential customers need to know that they have a choice, and that we have equipment, and that we have premium equipment at a better price point with longer warranties with lower cost of consumables. So it's a win-win-win, and our systems are open systems. So theoretically, you could use our competitors' consumables on our equipment. We hope you're going to use our consumables based on the partnership we're building with your practice and the pricing and the comfort for your patient. But 100%, we do not have an RFID or barcode scanner, as it's called, which I know across the country, practices are begging to have them taken off because it's affecting their ability to do studies. We're running out of free passes, and it's just something that we're hearing is not so popular.
Yeah, ours literally got, we couldn't proceed with some Urodynamics because the barcodes wouldn't work, but it was because the machine needed an upgrade. And it literally, even though the machine was working fine, it needed this upgrade that had to be fixed before we couldn't even continue with it. And it's just frustrating. The other comment I wanted to make, how many times, Vic, do you walk out of the room and say, "Hey, I'll turn the water on," to help them urinate? I love that feature. That was kind of cute.
Yeah, do anything you can. Just for those that don't do Urodynamics that may be watching the show, what they're talking about with this barcode is, in order to activate the system, you have to scan the individual catheter in. And this isn't the only company that's been doing that. There's other products that have used barcodes to make them active. All these devices are single use. It doesn't mean that because it doesn't have a barcode that you can use it on another patient. The idea is it's an inventory type system. But what we find, and Lori just kind of attested to that, is it's a point of failure, unfortunately. So everything else could be working just fine. Now you got a barcode that fails, the whole system fails. You can't do your urodynamic study. So that's why we, as practitioners, aren't crazy about barcodes.
Yeah, and we had a question from the audience: is it compatible with Epic?
100%. So we've done a couple Epic integrations, and the way we do the integrations, first of all, Epic is one of the 6 that we had a third-party consulting firm validate against, and we'll work with the IT department and show them to connect our system to Epic or any of the other major EMRs out there. It's super easy for the IT department and very, very inexpensive. On our side, where other companies charge ridiculous amounts for EMR integration, ours is like $3,000, and that includes our engineering support if necessary. I can't tell you what Epic's going to charge for every piece of equipment you add on to Epic, though. That's something that's outside of our control. So we learned that the hard way when someone wanted to do an integration with us, and then they came back and said it's $15,000, and I don't think it was Epic. It was one of the other ones. But so now I've learned to tell people, please check, or have your IT department check what your contract is with your EMR company, because our fee is for the software license and for our engineering support. But I can't control what your contract is with your EMR company.
Yeah. I have to say, from watching the demo and been doing Urodynamics for a lot of years, it's very well laid out, and it's intuitive in how a typical study is done. I like the way the buttons are. I had bought a system years ago that gave me the ability to get in and get the raw data. I'm kind of a geek, so I can kind of go in there and customize it, and was writing what you're doing already for people. I was trying to have to create with code, getting all that information out of the code. And fortunately, this one system allowed me to do it so that it would generate a report like you're showing at the end that basically gave you something besides a bunch of numbers that you could easily interpret. And our physician could just sign off on it because all the hard work was done, and it was done through the computers. So I'm impressed that you guys built a system that's simple to use. I think it's going to make a big difference in reporting.
Thank you.
Some of the stuff that took time was, moving items around and trying to find stuff. That automated is fantastic. And of course, I'm being in technology, I can't wait to see what AI is going to do to all this, because I'm sure it's going to be able to start getting in there and doing some of its own interpretations.
So yeah, definitely there's a future for AI in urodynamics, and as well as the ability to potentially overlay last year's study with this year's study and see how the patient has changed. And so there's definitely a lot of progress. We're always coming out with new releases of our software. For primary or really major new releases, we give them to our customers for free, which leads me to another very important point, which is, tech support. So and clinical support. So, we pride ourselves on making ourselves available to our customers. I said that at the beginning. That's a partnership. When you call, we do answer the phone. And all of our systems come already loaded with something called AnyDesk, which is end-to-end encryption help desk software. So you'll get one of our tech support specialists, like Andrea, on the phone, and we can never log into your system. We're not looking at your information. But if you need help, if you need clinical support for us to remote in and watch you do a live study and help guide you through a study, we offer that. And if you need technical support, our very first step for troubleshooting, you call us, we ask you to click the AnyDesk button. It creates a randomized 9-digit code. Tech support types it into their system, and it creates an end-to-end encrypted tunnel through the internet so that we can get into your system and you can kick us out at any time. It's a proper help desk platform that we're using. And we can log it in maintenance mode. That gives us the ability to see everything, all the settings, look at tracings, look at everything that's going on. But what we cannot see is HIPAA guarded information, patient name, age, gender, etc. So while we're in there, we have full admin privileges other than we can't see the HIPAA guarded information. I think that's very special. And on that same note, every single one of your employees that touches the system has their own login credentials as well. And that's also how you know who did the study. So that's how we do our tech support. And the second part is if there's a broken cable, or we identify that the monitor went bad for some reason, or every single thing we have is modular. All of we have parts in the warehouse in Boston, and we overnight at first morning delivery to you. We only do advance exchange. We do not fix your equipment. We only do advance exchange, regardless what's broken. We have that component. We ship it to you. We set up a time for your staff to call back into our tech support. We make sure that changing that out solves the problem. You put the broken one in a box where we already have a FedEx label, and it comes back. The broken one comes back to us, and you're up and running by the next day. And then, as I said earlier, you have the redundancy between the Harmony and the long cables. In most cases, that's going to solve the problem. So,
very good.
Okay.
Any questions from the audience, Lori?
Now, there was a comment a little while ago, I think when we were talking about primary care and the urogynes, and somebody commented there's so many male patient endorses nocturia and incontinence also. So going back to the fact that there's a lot of things about males, there may not be as much about female incontinence, things like that. But
right, yeah. Good point. All right, well, very good. Yeah, I think that that turnover is fantastic, because that's one of the last thing you want, or last thing a patient especially wants, is to have their thing canceled because you have an equipment failure. And we know it happens, but it's always been, how long does it take to get a replacement, to get somebody that'll actually talk to you on a phone? Those are the big points of contention.
Yeah.
Now, going back to the markers, during the urodynamics, there might be so many things going on that you forget to mark something, and you're saying that once the study's done, you can go back and put those markers in and move them to where you want them, correct?
Yes, you can.
And
At
then when
any
you
point. Yeah.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Brian.
No, and then when you click the report button, it recreates your data tables and everything in there to see. So if you missed something and it was actually a peak that should have been in there, it will readjust everything in the report.
Nice.
Yeah, there's like a recalculate button on there, and if you moved any markers or anything or added a marker, it'll recalculate everything for you.
Great.
I'm really proud of Andrea's live demo today. It's not easy to do, especially when you're squeezing the catheters yourself and have EMGs on your arm and pouring water. And what makes me also more proud is that, you both are seeing this for the first time in the software, and you're seeing just some of the bells and whistles that we made it simple, but we've added in benefits for the person doing the study. And so it makes me proud that our software impressed you.
How does somebody reach out to you to find somebody in their area to talk?
That's a great question. So, wow, we've grown so much and in a good way. I mean, we now have almost a sales organization of about 50 representatives covering almost the entire United States. So we typically have a local rep, 3 regional managers. But the answer to your question, you can go on Gemini's website and either fill out a form of info, or you just pick up the phone and call us. Our phone number is there. You push 1 for customer support. You push 2 for clinical support, 3 for tech support, and you'll have a live person there, and we'll introduce you to the local person, as well as our customer care team. When you push button number 1, we'll immediately start to understand what your needs are and make sure we put you in touch with the right person.
Great.
And you can always go to uronurse.com where you find us for all your education. There's a link from our website to their website, to Gemini's. So that'll get you right over there. What kind of training is offered? So if I go out, I buy a system, and who's going to teach me how to use it? Andrea's going to come over, right?
That it's a potential. It's potential for sure. But Brian, if you want to chime in and explain how it all works, and then we can go ahead. Yeah.
Sure. So not only do we have the longest warranties in the industry, and like really full warranties, and if you do buy the extended years, be up to 5 years, it's not just a discount program warranty where you get 25 or 50% off parts. So, our carts come with a 3-year warranty. You can buy the 4th and 5th year. That's a bumper to bumper 4th and a bumper to bumper 5th year. So truly no out of pocket costs, and continues your original manufacturer's warranty. So I wanted to point that out. Similarly, we wanted to have the best training out there. So when you buy equipment from us, we do pre, on-site, and post-training. And what does that mean? And that's included in the cost of your equipment. So when we finish arranging for the shipment to start going, and we set a date to be on-site, we ask the customer to set up time with our clinical team, and we do remote training with them in a couple sessions so that they can actually see the software ahead of time, use the software ahead of time in simulation mode, and feel comfortable with it. And as you saw, it's very intuitive and easy to go from legacy equipment that's been around for a while to our platform. Mm-hmm. But you still want to make sure before they ever have a live patient. Then we'll do the installation, and the day before, at the end of office hours, typically, we'll ask to schedule some time for hands-on on the equipment that we've just done the install. The following day, we ask the staff to have 4 patients lined up, 30 minutes apart, and I know, so that's about an hour and a half per study, including the 1 hour for the room setup and breakdown and everything. But we want to make sure that we do really good quality studies and even best practices if we see something where we can teach someone to do better quality studies. But also we want to debrief on how each study went and answer any questions in between patients so that the next patient, it runs more smoothly. And then afterwards, I talked about that AnyDesk software that we already have on there. So it also comes with 4 more patients that we will do live with you if you schedule ahead of time, so that one of our clinical experts is watching the study live and able to provide you feedback, or the person doing the study feedback. So.
Do you have any videos on your website as far as training or how it works? Kind of people can kind of watch it again.
Good question. We have a video that we played at AUA, and right now we're working on a series of videos, and we just released a new software version just in the past few weeks. So we were waiting for that. So we now have in production short little training videos, like getting started. How do I input the patient information? Because we didn't show that today, the patient module. So we're going to be doing a series of short videos that are going out as training videos.
Very good. I could almost see where if there was an interest, if people want to learn more about urodynamics, maybe even having Andrea come on and do a Euro nurse, kind of a start to finish urodynamic, what's involved, how to do it. I think it'd be helpful for people that are getting into urodynamics, because there's training courses out there, but there's not a lot.
Right. We do offer additional training, but these are not certified courses. So I just want to be
Right.
upfront. If someone wants us to send one of our, and we've also expanded our clinical team as well. So we've expanded our sales organization, our clinical organization, our technical. We brought that all in-house for biomed. So, it's a really strong vertically integrated company, but we can do extra training on best practices, and we can send our clinical experts out there, but it's not a certified course. So I just want to make that disclaimer.
Yep. And we were talking about earlier, I said, there's people that are, interested in doing urodynamics. You can't just walk in, have somebody show you how the equipment works and do urodynamics. You have to understand the neuroanatomy involved in doing urodynamics. If you don't understand how urination works from the brain to the bladder, you're going to have bad studies.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Lori will back me up on that one.
It takes a long time to learn urodynamics. You are not going to get it after the first 5 patients. I still have things that happen during urodynamic that I'm not quite sure of.
Yeah.
And I've been doing them for 20 plus years. So, yeah.
And I've taught staff members in our own organization, and there's some I just said, listen, this isn't for you. You just don't seem to be getting the idea behind what you're doing. And, it's just the bottom line.
I think urodynamics, doing them well and having a love for it, takes a special kind of person.
Yeah,
for sure.
Not for everybody.
So we have lots of options out there. So you can, do some very basic testing, testing like the Uroflow, get some information. Uroflow and a post-void residual, still not a bad test. Urocuff gives us even more information. And if you need all the information, urodynamics is there. So, and each one has more complexity and requires more skill, but you're getting more information. I think that would be a good way to summarize it, right?
Definitely. Thank you. Yep. A couple more slides if you wanted me to go to those.
I sure will. Let me get you over here and bring those in.
Okay. So, just wrapping up, we spent a lot of time talking about urodynamics today, which is really the core of our business, and that the fastest way to be a partner with us, and you're hearing what partnership means to be part of Gemini and how we treat our customers, is to change your consumables to us on your existing equipment right away, as long as it doesn't have that barcode scanner that Lori talked about. So we have the consumables, we have the equipment, as we've talked about, a full line of equipment. Our Uroflow meters, we have 3 different types, and one of them that we've launched recently has integrated bladder scanner, and I think we're the only one in the world or on the market that has that. So you can do a Uroflow and then do your PVR right from the same system, and it makes a beautiful report, and that can be pushed up to the EMR. We also launched a line of bladder scanners that are high-end bladder scanners. We didn't want them to just be Me Too products. I mean, these bladder scanners are very high quality. They come with a 5-year full warranty, including accidental drop coverage, which is unbelievable. To have 5 years of accidental drop coverage on the probes, which is the thing that breaks the most, and up to 2 probes per year, have them covered. We've built that into the pricing. One of them is, a little bit more graphical and easy to use, and the other one is just as easy to use, but what it is it runs on a Windows platform and a medical grade tablet, so that it can connect to the EMR seamlessly as well. So we're proud of that. And then we've launched 2 different examination chairs, and the first one you can see, it's the blue one on the bottom. Up until now, for years, there's been really one kind of urodynamics chair. I used to sell it 15 years ago when I was in a different company, and it's still the same one that's out there. We didn't want that, so we wanted a true examination and procedure table or chair, whichever you prefer to call it, that can be used in OBGYN, urology, and urogynecology for every in-office procedure. We launched this a couple months ago, and the customer base that has seen it is loving it, because the benefit of that is it not only will allow you to do urodynamics and have a swing arm with the funnel and the cutout, but it will also allow you to do all other in-office procedures. What that means is that exam room is no longer a dedicated urodynamics exam room. That exam room can be running 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and you can be doing cystos on it or any other type of in-office procedure. So It has a lot of nice features to it, and it's comfortable, and you can see it in the blue. And then we just also launched our own, with our manufacturing partner, MMT, we just launched a fluoroscopy table. So once again, premium products, and definitely cost effective compared to the competition. Not cheap, premium, but priced in a way that we're partnering with your practice. Okay, so any questions on the rest of our product portfolio? Because we really have expanded over the past year.
Yeah, it's impressive with the having the bladder scanners.
Okay, so instead of saying why choose Gemini, I would say why not choose Gemini, really? Because when you choose Gemini, you're getting a partnership. You're getting this amazing customer and technical support and clinical support that we've talked about. You know, all of our products, we look at the total cost of ownership, which is the purchase price, the maintenance, and in the case of Urodynamics, the consumable cost. And so we really do give premium products with the most cost effective and long-term support out there. And so, you know, when you're looking to make a quick change and start saving money for your practice, you can think about us for consumables. When your equipment becomes end of life, definitely should think about us and not get locked in, as Lori was talking about, with maybe a competitor's piece of equipment. Okay. Well, I want to thank you for your time. Once again, I'm sorry, Vic, when this got uploaded to your system, it kind of overlapped a little bit. But
It's a technology. What can I say? It always has some little glitch. That was really good. I really appreciate your coming on the show today. Big change from the last time you were on. I mean, you guys are kind of really flooding the market in a good way. So I'm really impressed with all the stuff you're doing. Got a little demo for next week's show, a little promo. Let's put that on.
The treatment paradigm in bladder cancer has fundamentally changed over the past decade. The evolving, dense clinical trial landscape has given rise to barriers to optimizing patient care. This webcast will focus on emerging trial data for antibody-drug conjugates, sequence optimization, combinatorial therapy utilization, and identification of when and in which patients to use ADCs. Join our expert faculty for this 60-minute activity designed to help clinicians stay abreast of emerging trial data and evolving treatment guidelines. Join us next week on uronurse.com.
So yeah, next week we're going to go and switch our gears over to bladder cancer. So join us. This is a free 1.25 contact hour study that you can apply for and get your information, get your credits for. So join us for that next week. And hey, thanks everybody for all your input, and always a blast to come on and talk to everybody online, and hope to see everybody again soon. All righty. Have a great rest of your weekend. Hey, have a great Thanksgiving this year.
Yes.